will explain what a Pythagorean triple is later. So first, let me introduce you to two theorems I used to make my Pythagorean triple generator. The first theorem is the Pythagorean theorem. It states that in a right triangle, the sum of the squares of the two lengths equals the square of the hypotenuse, or a squared plus b squared equals c squared, where a and b are the two lengths and c is the hypotenuse. So earlier I mentioned that my program could generate a Pythagorean triple. Now let me explain to you what a Pythagorean triple is. So a Pythagorean triple are the three whole numbers corresponding to the sides of the right triangle. And these three numbers have to fulfill the Pythagorean theorem, which means that the first number squared plus the second number squared equals the third number squared. So for example, 3, 4, 5 is a Pythagorean triple because 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. The other theorem I used was the difference of squares theorem. It states that c squared minus b squared equals c plus b times c minus b, where c and b both can be any number. Now let me introduce you to my theorem and how it generates the three numbers of the Pythagorean triple. My theorem takes any odd number and notes it as a. Since a is odd, a squared is also odd. So a squared can be split into two numbers, c and b, which satisfy the sum of c and b is a squared, and c is one more than b. From the equations above, we can get that b equals a squared minus 1, then divided by 2 through calculation, and c is just one more than that. In this way, A, B, and C make up a Pythagorean triple, which satisfies a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So for example, if we take the earlier Pythagorean triple I mentioned before, 3, 4, 5, and you just input 3, then my program takes the 3, it squares it, so 9, then minus 1, so 8, then divided by 2 is 4. So then the second number is 4, and the third number is just one more than the second number, so the third number is 5. And as you can see, my program works because it came up with 3, 4, 5 out of just 3. Now let me show you the actual proof that my theorem actually works. So as mentioned before, b equals a squared minus 1, then divided by 2. And c is just one more than that. So we can get c plus b equals a squared through calculation, and c is just one more than b. So using the difference of squares theorem I explained earlier, c squared minus b squared equals c plus b times c minus b. And since c minus b is 1 and c plus b is just a squared, then a squared times 1 is just a squared. So c squared minus b squared equals a squared. Therefore, my theorem satisfies the Pythagorean theorem, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, and works. So as you can see, this is the code I made to generate the Pythagorean triple. When you run the code, it says enter an odd positive integer greater than 1 over here in the bottom right corner. And so for example, let's say you enter 5, and then you press enter, and it comes up with the Pythagorean triple 5, 12, 13. Also, as you can see, I use some extra code to draw the triangle, the right triangle over here. So it draws the right triangle over here. So in conclusion, my program is helpful when you want to find a unique Pythagorean triple given any odd number. It also shows that there are infinitely many unique Pythagorean triples, since my program generates one with only an odd number, and there are infinitely many odd numbers. And thank you.
Okay, that was great. Thank you for your presentation. And now it's time for the judges to ask you questions.
Do I need to stop sharing?
Yes, please.
Yeah, Ethan, hold on for a minute because the judge is not here. There was two judges were here. Can you ask a judge from Able to Shine and Ivy Max? Yeah, make sure double check judge is here. Because I see Shen, Dr. Shen, and Dr. Lukman is here. But two judges is missing. Okay, just hold on for a minute.
Wait, so the other judges didn't hear my presentation?
Don't worry, William. If we have just two judges, then only these two judges' scores will be counted. But I like your presentation. It's very impressive. You made it very clear. It's very interesting, and you're concluding that there's an infinite number of these unique triangles. It's kind of really cool conclusion. So my question for you, so what motivates you to do this project? What's your driver? What inspired you to pursue this proof and your theory? It's really cool. I like it.
So one day I was doing a math competition problem, and it had something related to the Pythagorean theorem, and I thought about it for a while about stuff that might help me do the problem. And then in the end, after thinking for a while, I found and I came up with this. So for this presentation, for this science fair, I just decided to share it because it was really cool.
It is cool. Thank you, William. Do other judges have questions? Judge Luckman?
Yes, William, how did you first get interested in geometry?
Well, I just well, I like math, so I've competed in multiple math competitions before, and so I just happened to learn these kind of geometry things, like math skills, and as I said before, so one day I just thought about something related to the Pythagorean theorem, and then I just found this.
Nice. And last question, can you, what are some practical applications of your program? If you were asked to
So like, if you wanted to like find a Pythagorean triple really fast, then you would like only need an odd number to do it. And also, as I mentioned in the presentation, it proves that there are infinitely many odd numbers, unique Pythagorean triples, since my program generates one with only an odd number. And a unique Pythagorean triple is a Pythagorean triple that does not have the same ratio to another Pythagorean triple. For example, 6, 8, 10 is not a unique Pythagorean triple because it's has a ratio similarity to 3, 4, 5 because 3 times 2 equals 6, 4 times 2 equals 8, and 5 times 2 equals 10. As you can see, the first one, so the numbers of the Pythagorean triple, when you multiply them by the same number, they end up as the corresponding numbers to the other Pythagorean triple. So the other bigger Pythagorean triple is not a unique Pythagorean triple.
Thank you, William.
Okay, are there any more questions from the judges?
No more. Thank you. Thank you, William. Well done. We may
Well
move
done.
on to the next one.
Okay, so the next one we have Make My Pool Clean Again from Maximilian He.
Yeah, Ethan, the other judge, Dr. Wei is here. Just confirm. Yeah, just confirm another judge is here. Just Dr. Wei. Yeah. Wei Xin, judge, please rename your name as judge. And so we will start the next one, right?
So do I start? Do I start?
If you have slides to share, please share. Max. Perfect. Thank you.
Make my pool clean again. My motivation for this project is that last year during the pandemic, I had the fortune of swimming in a clear pool. But this year, the pool went out of control. No matter how much we brushed it or added chlorine, it wouldn't become clear. This indicated that it had a lot of algae in it. I want to help my dad figure out how to make our pool clean, like last year. I'll try putting pool water through a series of tests to see which one kills algae fastest. At the end of the experiment, I hope to have a deeper understanding of bases, acids, and how to kill algae. Algae facts. Algae belongs to the kingdom Protistum. It is an aquatic plant with no roots, stems, or leaves. It also is the #1 oxygen producer. It produces more oxygen than trees. The design of my experiment. I had 11 samples divided into 2 groups, pH and temperature. I took pictures at 0 hours, 17 hours, and 47 hours. So for the pH group, I had very acidic, mildly acidic, and then 7.2, which is the best pH for pool, mildly basic, very acidic, and then finally 7.2 pH. They would all be next to the pool, but then the last 2 samples would have no sunlight, and then sample 7 would have no air. For the temperature study group, I put them under different temperatures. Some were in the freezer, some were in the refrigerator, and then one was in hot water and one was on the living room table. The results of my study. They all look the same at 0 hours, but then they start turning greener or less green the farther you get. My thoughts. An obstacle I faced. For sample 7, it was no sun and no air. The results weren't what I expected because I had residual air in the cup before I sealed it with plastic wrap. So I guess the algae still survive with the residual carbon dioxide and continue to grow. Something special about my project is that usually people kill algae with acid, but I studied a wider range, including high temperature, low temperature, with and without air, and extreme acid plus base. Conclusion. Algae grows less with sunlight. Algae likes heat. Algae doesn't like its extreme pH, and temperature doesn't affect algae. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Thank you. That was great. And now it's time for the judges to ask you questions.
Thank you, Max. This is Professor Lane. Thank you for sharing your experiment and your insights. I just learned from you that algae produce more oxygen than all trees and plants combined. That's really important fact. I glad to know this. So my question is, so you've done this experiment at home. So did you eventually try this out in your pool, or in a way based on the conclusion? For example, it grows less with sunlight or more heat or extreme pH. And in particular, extreme pH, how would you make it work? Let's say you make your pool very acid. How do you eventually neutralize it and so you can swim in it?
So I couldn't really trust my project enough to actually try it on our pool. So,
but it's more of a the purpose of your study is more of a figuring out the environment, suitable environment for algae growth, right?
Yeah. Gotcha.
Thanks. Well done. I really like it. You know, hands-on. Instead of relying on others' readings, you do your own homework. This is really impressive.
Are there any more questions from the judges?
Yeah, so isn't it interesting that algae likes heat, but yet it's unaffected by temperature?
So for the hot sample in the temperature study, I forgot that the water would evaporate. So the results aren't that clear. So later in the experiment, I had to cover it to keep it from evaporating more. So I don't think you can compare the hot one with the samples outside next to the pool.
Thank you.
Any more questions from the judges?
No more. We may move on. Thank you.
If we don't have any more questions, please give your score and we can move on. Okay, the next project is Biofuel Lighter by Lu Yao Ying.
Sorry. So
Listen, hold on for 1 minute. Can you make sure all the judges submit the form?
What?
So I'm going to submit my form all at once, because I have my own spreadsheet, so I can compare horizontally before I submit.
Okay. Yeah, just make sure all the judges are aware that. Yeah, you can do that, or yeah, just make sure you finish, then we can start next. Okay.
Sure. Just a reminder that for the first project, I think we're going to take the average score from all judges, right? So for the first presentation, we'll only have 2. So you may take the 2 average out of 2, right?
Yes.
And then now we have 3, right? Good. Thank you.
Now we have 4 actually.
Okay.
May I continue?
Yeah, yes, you may, Lu Yao. Do you have slides to share? Or it's just,
I just have like a little talking. So okay,
Sure,
this
go ahead.
hi. I'm Liao Yang. And yeah, my project will be the Biofuel Lighter. And this might be a bit embarrassing to admit, but this morning I was testing out my project and I found out that actually I'll first give an introduction to my project. So basically it's a thing that runs on the basic principles of electrolysis. And I drew a schematic to show you what it's all about. And as you can see, I don't know if this is focused. You can see that it starts off with a little external electricity source. And you can see these are the wires that runs into this little water tank. And as you know, electrolysis separates this water into oxygen and hydrogen. So as you can see, I set a barrier right here to make sure that oxygen and hydrogen doesn't intermix. So oxygen goes out this tube and hydrogen goes into this tube through into this little tank. This is where I'll store the hydrogen for ignition. And this container was an idea given to me by my dad, who really helped me a lot throughout this project. So I give a lot of credit to him. This container is shaped like this, and this blue stuff is water, so that you can see when the hydrogen enters into here, it floats to the top and displaces some of the water in there. So the water level rises up here. And when that does that, it puts pressure on the hydrogen so that I can go out through this tube. And the hydrogen goes throughout this tube and into what I call the ignition tube throughout this opening. And here's a little piezoelectric device here that combusts it with oxygen, producing a flame. And I also added a little hole in the ignition tube so that it provides enough stoichiometry so that it can light up. So I did build this project, but this morning I figured out that the electrolysis wasn't enough. So then I was testing it out and okay, this was a very stupid decision for me to make. I stuck the wires into a wall circuit. And then the electrolysis was more frequent. And then what happened was that I thought that if you put the wires closer together, the electrolysis would be more frequent and more like at a higher rate. And I accidentally put them a bit too close, and it kind of exploded, I guess. And yeah, my project was Oh, so I should continue on. I guess I just should give some credits to my dad first, because if it wasn't for him, I would probably wouldn't be in this competition, because I would be probably recovering from a lot of first degree burns from hydrogen. And also sorry. What's really special about my project, I think I should add this, because really what special was because I actually got this idea from March or February, and I made this so that I was going. Hold on, please. I need to tell my mom to lower down her voice. Sorry about that. So I was actually dedicated to this project because I was actually more of like a naturalist, and I was really concerned about lighters adding carbon dioxide into the environment. So I thought that if we made like a biofuel lighter that doesn't release carbon dioxide into the air, it would be better for the environment. And I didn't know about this competition until like June 14th, I think, on like the first day of the kickoff. So I thought that I was like, okay, I might as well do that. And yeah, I'm just still dedicated to this project, so that I'm planning to, after this interview, I'm still gonna work on it so that I can fix it back up again, make it running.
Are you done with your presentation?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to mention
Okay.
that.
Yeah, it's fine. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, and the judges can ask you questions now.
I just want to say, Luyan, well done. It's a pretty cool idea that your lighter is biofuel, and we are all very concerned about the environmental impacts these days. So I see this project is very meaningful, and you put in work, do it on your own, tried it out, and you continue to work on it. It's a really cool idea. I like you have this diagram, right? You have the separation of two different gases, and it makes a lot of sense to me. I think it's a really cool idea. My question to you, so what do you think eventually where we can eventually utilize ideas like yours? Where can we put biofuel lighters into use in our real life?
I mean, honestly, if you could like literally replace them with any other lighter, because like basically it still works like a normal lighter. There might be a few drawbacks, and those drawbacks would be that you can't rotate it around, or the water will kind of get into the hydrogen tube. And another drawback is that the flame is invincible, so you kind of have to, unless there's like impurities in the air like sulfur or dust or sodium, it will have a bit of a tintish color.
Mhm.
But if you know that the flame is there, you could take more safety precautions.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Yeah, that was actually also going to be my question. I was going to ask you, are there any risks with utilizing such a lighter in replacement of a normal BIC or what have you? But you answered that. Thank you, Luya.
Thank you.
Are there more questions from the judges? Okay, if not, we can have a minute for the judges to give you a score, and we can move on after a minute. Okay, that was about a minute. Did the judges get this one finish? I'm assuming. Okay. So the next project is Decoding Letter from Elizabeth Jane, Ethan Leung, Daniel and Danny Chu. Please start your presentation.
We made a recording of, we made a video recording of us, so should I just play that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, and by the way, Elizabeth isn't here today.
I'm right here. Yeah, I'm.
Oh, okay, cool.
I'm currently in a hotel room, so the Wi-Fi is really
Okay.
laggy.
Wait, I'm gonna share audio.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth with the C++ group, and this video is brought to you by the Sea Monster Defense Initiative, which includes me, Daniel, and Ethan. Let's get to the backstory of our project. Noe sent a letter or audio message in encoded language to her best friend Kate, who's traveling overseas. While the message is being sent, a sea monster gets a hold of it and adds his own noise to it.
Can you guys hear it?
Kate, who's experienced in solving encrypted messages, knows how to untwist the letter. As said before, my name is Elizabeth, and as the team leader, I worked on setting up the meetings and getting in contact with the other team members. In addition to coding, I also played a key role in designing the team's slides and the logo you see in the bottom left corner.
Hi, my name is Daniel. I worked on most of the preparation work, including generating the message and encrypting it. I also conducted tests for the code.
Hi, I'm Ethan. I worked on the decoding and twisting of the message. We used a machine learning model, MLP, for this purpose. I trained the model and used it for decoding. Although it was easy to encrypt and twist the message, untwisting it was the hard part. The first challenge was that the twisting algorithm is unknown. During the untwisting part, we must assume that we are K and do not know the twisting algorithm. This makes it much harder to decode. What's worse, we don't know the noise. It's impossible to create some equation that satisfies all noises. The last challenge is that C++ isn't very efficient for solving machine learning problems. For example, Python has an MLP classifier class that can help train the model. On the other hand, C++ doesn't have a built-in class for this.
Side note, what is a linear regression model? Given many training examples with features x1 to xm and expected result y, find w0 to wm so that w0 plus w1 times x1 all the way to wm times xm is as close to y as possible for each example. The algorithm used is gradient descent, which involves defining an error function and trying to minimize it iteratively.
Although we were getting closer to the solution, there were still a couple issues. For example, when we tried to use the weights to regenerate the original message, we were ending up with very wonky results. We also had to do some experimenting and fine-tuning to get things right. Also, there was some dispute as to the indexing used to run the gradient descent. Finally, making the code work with an actual string message was also a bit tedious.
As said before, the basis of our code was a 5-feature linear regression model. In our code, we used gradient descent to regenerate the optimal weights. We also tried experimenting with different ideas and strayed from the example our supervisor gave us. After a couple of weeks, we realized that we could change the initial value of the weights to get a better result. We also found an error in the error computation. And just like that, we were one step closer to achieving our goal. Now, Ethan's gonna show us a demo of the code we made.
Okay, so this is the code we made, and I'm going to demo it as Elizabeth said. So suppose I enter a message, say Sea Monster Defense Initiative. You can see here that the encrypted code is full of -3s and -1s and 1s and 3s. So this is basically the encrypted code, and then on the bottom here you can see the twisted code. You can see that after adding the noise and twisting it, it looks very weird because and you can really tell that there is no pattern going with this. This is the untwisted code, and it's basically the encrypted code with one difference. The encrypted code has 4 -3s. We actually The point of -3 is actually we don't need -3s. We can use any number, but the point is that the first four numbers will be deleted in the through the untwisting process. You can see that from -1, -1, -3, and 3. You can see here that it's the same for the first four and for the others too. In the end, we got the final message as Sea Monster Defense Initiative, which is what I entered here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that was a really good presentation, and it's time for the judges to ask you questions.
Well, I will go first. It's a very impressive project. We have 3 middle school students working as a team and doing something really impressive with programming, coding. And I have a question. So you have this decoding program. And I saw you guys have something related to linear regression. So can any of you maybe explain to me what is a linear regression is?
I guess I could explain it. So like, in general, like for example, if you had a line like y equals 4x plus 3, and then you just add, and then to each y value you added some sort of random noise, like which is like random Gaussian distribution noise.
Right.
Then it wouldn't be a perfect line anymore, so you wouldn't be able to solve for the line. But by using certain formulas, you can get that each y value is approximately 4x plus 3, and that's basically what linear regression does.
And that's basically the center, the centerpiece of your program, right? You have a linear regression trying to back out the values, right? Given x, given y, now you're trying to back out x, right? Is that what you guys doing here?
Well, yeah, like given the encrypted message, and you're also given the original message, you can like, given the twisted message and the original message, you can regenerate the, you can find the weights that you can use to get the original message from the twisted message, and then you can like apply that to any other twisted message.
I see. And that's where the machine learning part comes in, right? So first you train your linear regression model, and then you back it out, right? Using the trained model you have, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Very impressive. For high middle school students, you can do this project. Very, very impressive. So one more question. Where do you see this program maybe applied toward?
I guess I can answer it. So, technically the problem already has an application, like someone sending another person a message. I guess that's really the main use of this code. And like, if you don't want people to see it, you can just give the person you're sending to the decrypting, like how to decrypt it. And then you can just send an encrypted message to them. And then nobody will know what you're saying. But they may add like a noise as the sea monster did.
Thank you.
Yeah, guys, +1 to Sean. I think this is a really awesome project from middle school level. One quick question is that I want to understand more about the thinking process, how we settle down on the linear regression. Have we done some additional work to evaluating other models and how that will improve the performance?
I guess the reason that we picked a linear regression model was we sort of cheated because you know that when we wrote it, we made it so that the sea monster's twisting method is a linear transformation. So like it takes like two values and then it does like 0.5 times the first one plus the second one. So you know that it's linear, so then you're gonna use linear regression. But if you didn't know that, then I guess you just have to experiment around with a lot of different models and try to see which one works.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Thank you.
Did you guys do this program all by yourself, or you have a mentor helping you out? Thank you.
Yeah, like we had someone who he gave us like some basic Python code, but then apparently that Python code didn't work, so then we had to improve on it. And also like at that time we didn't really understand any of this stuff, so we also had to learn about it. And yeah.
Thank you.
Are there more questions from the judges? Okay, if not, we can give a minute for the judges to give you scores. Okay, that was about a minute, and we can move on to our next project, which is also Decoding Lighter by another group, Anh Xia, Claire Tian, and Kevin Yi.
This is our CASPA Science Fair project presentation, presented to you by Claire, Elaine, and Kevin. We're a group of 7th graders that go to the Harker School. Our project is called Sea Monster Twist, using machine learning to decipher messages. I believe that we'll present the story of our project next, we'll show an animation, and then present our slides live. Here's our animation. In our story, Zoe sends an encrypted message to her best friend Kate, who is traveling overseas. A malicious sea monster intercepts her letter, but is unable to read it. Infuriated, the sea monster adds his own twist to the letter, keeping Kate from accessing its contents as well. When the message reaches Kate, she has no way to see what it originally said. Fortunately, she had been in such a situation before and knew exactly what she needed to do to decode the letter. Kate uses data from the previous sea monster encounters from her overseas journeys to decode the message. This is our overview of the project, illustrating the journey from start to finish. First, we have Zoe's letter. In this case, our sample message is "I love programming." In the second section, we have the translation of the message to ASCII code. Next, we have the sea monster's twist. And finally, we have the decoding process and the recovered letter. We first translate each letter of the message to ASCII code. For example, the letter I becomes 73. Then each character's ASCII value is converted to binary, and we grouped every 2 bits together such that the first pair, 0, 1, becomes 1, the second pair, 0, 0, becomes 0, the third pair, 1, 0, becomes 2, and the final pair, 0, 1, becomes 1. The sea monster will twist each value with this formula, rendering the letter illegible. x1 and x2 are adjacent encoded symbols. The monster will half the first value, add the second, and add random noise.
Now we will recover the original message from the twisted letter. We will use a filter to unwind the twist and remove the noise. Here's how the filter is applied, where each twisted symbol is multiplied with a set of weights. The first character is multiplied by W1, the second by W2, and so on. We then sum the products to output M. Our objective is to find the correct value of the weights so that the filter reliably recovers the original message. Here we have a data set composed of original and twisted messages. We trained our weights on this dataset using the machine learning technique gradient descent. Our weights are initialized as 00100. We compared our output M with the original message and adjusted the weights accordingly.
The diagram on the left depicts how the weights change over time during training. W1 was initialized as 0, but converged to about 0.2. W2 was also initialized to 0 and converged to negative 0.5. W3 was initialized at 1 and remained in place. W4 and 5 were initialized at 0 and stayed at 0. The diagram on the right displays the error between the original message and our decoded value M, which we were trying to minimize.
Finally, we undo Zoe's encoding to arrive at the original message.
To sum it up, we made a cartoon about our story and problem. Then we created a decoding model using Python to create a letter, encrypt it, twist it, and decode it. We've learned to use digital art and editing tools to create an animation, and machine learning techniques and Python to decode our twisted letter. Throughout this project, we also learned to work together and that teamwork is essential to complete any project.
There were a few challenges we encountered while completing the project. The main one was working together during the pandemic. We used Zoom as our primary mode of communication to collaborate. In addition, it was challenging to adapt to unfamiliar editing and animation programs. We overcame these issues with some modification of our recording layout and some testing.
All in all, we had a good time using Python and creating our final project. We learned Python skills, machine learning techniques, editing, and other necessary tools for our presentation. Thank you.
Well done. A great presentation.
Is there any questions from the judges for this one?
Thank you guys, well done. Very impressive, very clear presentation. Obviously the two projects are pretty similar in the format. You want to create an encrypted message and then you want to decode it. So my question for your team is, what do you think your project, your way of doing things are better than the previous one? The previous project we just had. Thank you.
One second, sorry.
That's probably a question for ourselves, but if you happen to be paying attention to the previous project.
Yeah, our motivation is a story resembling a fairy tale. So to create a problem, but they did that too. And our difference from them is that before we did this project, all of us had like no experience in programs like editing and animation because we used an animation at the beginning similar to the other team, and we had to put clips together to make the video, and none of us had any experience, so we had to learn how to use new programs. And we most of us also had little to no experience in Python, so we also had to learn about new functions and statements in Python to be able to create the code for this.
Thank you for sharing your experience.
Oh, and also the spreadsheet that was seen in the presentation, we did most of the calculation by hand except for the last successful decoding. We took the letter and then manually found the ASCII code by using a computer to like put in the number and find the ASCII code, and then translated that to binary, made it symbols, and encrypted and twisted it by hand, which was kind of painful, and untwisted it after that. It didn't work in the beginning, but with the trained decoding, it worked properly.
Thank you. That's very impressive. It's a very comprehensive project. You have movie editing, cartoons, and Python programming, and some computer work. It's very, very, very impressive. Good teamwork. I really like it. Thank you.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, go for it.
Wait, so I'm like, can I ask a question? I think like I didn't really hear you because you're kind of glitchy.
We could hear the presentation pretty well.
No, like I can't hear what the judge just said. Like the other judge, what he said.
You mean Ms. Luckman?
Yeah.
Okay.
What did?
Oh, I said go ahead, ask a question.
Oh, so like, how did you guys happen to have the exact same idea as like the other group? Like, are you guys friends? So like, did you like?
We actually both, like, all of us go to the same school, and also like we use the same idea, but they use C++ and we use Python. So like the same person created the idea and we both used it, I guess.
Okay.
William, very political question.
Is there more questions?
I think it's to William's question. I think there's a lot of projects out there that have like a standard template. Here are the challenges. How do you solve it? I think the two teams have the same challenge. That is, they code a message and then they decode it. Just like when you do your math competition, there's a standard sets of problems, and everyone sees a different ways of solve it, right? So it's fine that we have similar projects on the same, but they are doing their methodology wise, they're different. They put in their work, and I think the most important part from a judge's point of view is what the work you've actually done, right? You've done, even though you may seem, hey, I did this manually trying to create a bunch of variants, but to judges, that's still good because you honestly did it, right? We want you to see how that experience, how that kind of work or frustrations, and to us, that you actually did it means a lot to us. And the same to your project, that you have a Python. That was very impressive too.
Oh, by the way, the manual work was just to get an idea of our project. It wasn't the entire thing. We used Python, sorry. But yeah, it was just to outline the idea and make sure our concept was correct.
Okay, yeah. Thank you for your presentation. And if there's no more question, I think we're ready to move on. Okay, so the next group is Project Gobing by Richard White.
Wait a second. I need to
share. Let's see if, oh no. How do I share two tabs at the same time? I think it goes like this and this. Okay, sure. Now go to, wait, so can I start now? Can anyone hear me? Oh yeah,
Yeah.
okay, so let me start. Okay. So, hello, my name is Richard Wang, and today I'll be presenting my project Gobing, which I made in collaboration with my friend Michael Wu, who's not here today, so I'll present it myself. So let me briefly go over my project. As its name suggests, it's on the game Gobang, which, if you don't know, is a game where two players alternately place black and white stones, and the first to create 5 in a row wins. And I wrote my project in the language Python, and I used the turtle library for graphics. So how about we watch the demo video that I made previously now.
Now I will start my project demo.
Wait, can you hear that?
We can't see the video.
Oh, no. Let's see. Oh, that's bad. That's kind of bad.
I can see it now. Yeah.
It's on the
My
right-hand
project
side, right?
consists of 4 main modules or files.
Yeah.
Main, drawboard, game client, and game.
And you can hear it, right?
Yeah, we can
Yeah.
hear it.
Okay,
Engine.
good.
Main controls the entire game process. Drawboard starts and ends the game. Game client controls achievements, certain win and lose functions, as well as the timers, while game engine determines whether the game has ended or not. This is the Python console, and in it, important information will be printed.
I'm putting it
This
faster
is the
so that
turtle
it can go over
interface,
quicker,
and
more
the
quickly.
game will run in it. Now, this is the run button, and if we press it, then the game will start loading. And here's the loading screen, and let's see, what does it draw? It draws a yin-yang, as you can see, and then it starts to spin. At first, it doesn't spin really fast, but later on, it gets faster and faster. I think this feature of mine is quite cool. So after it spins, it will explode, and now we find the start button, and if we press the start button, the game will start. Here you can see that each player has a timer, and if you place a piece by pressing on the board, it will become the other person's turn. The second player is white while the first player is black, and since the second player has a disadvantage, he or she has more time. And if you press pieces, you can see it looks something like this. Now, the usual way of winning the game is if you get a row of 5. Either black or white gets a row of 5. Now, there are some other buttons, for example, resign. And you can place Y or N here. I'm going to put N here, where it says that black was on the verge of resigning but decided not to resign at the last moment. If you put Y in there, then black will lose and white will win. There's also the offer a draw button, where you can also put Y or N. I'm going to put N as well, but if you put Y, then neither player will win and the result will be a draw. And there, as you can see here, there are also some achievements that you can make. These occur when you basically achieve something, either good or bad. It will cause you to gain this achievement and it will be printed in colored text. Now, let's see. Maybe white wins. What does that do? The turtle interface prints out the result of the game, and after 10 seconds, the game will end, as you can see here. Thank you.
Okay, so that was the demo video, and let me try to full screen this thing. Okay, here. So let me continue my slideshow. So now that we've watched the demo, let me briefly explain the structure of my project. It can be split into 3 parts: the initial setup, the game process, and the game termination. The initial setup has 2 parts and relies heavily on the turtle library. The loading screen, as you saw in the demo, was that spinning yin-yang. And after it ends, there's the start button, and if you press it, you see the board and special controls. The start button also immediately starts the game process, which has the external interface, which is what you see on the board and the console, and like stuff will be printed in the console. And if you put stones on the board, then they will appear. And this is all controlled by the internal game algorithm, which, for example, it makes sure that you use illegal moves. I mean, you can't put stones on top of other ones, or you can't, and you also can't put them outside the board. That's just an illegal move. It also has those timers and achievements, etc., as you saw. And there's the game engine in the internal game algorithm, and it watches for not only legal moves, but also whether the game has ended or not. If
If it finds a win/loss or a draw, then it reaches the game termination and it determines the end status. And that's where the result will be displayed. And after 10 seconds, the game quits, so the result disappears. So now I'll talk about some challenges I encountered, some problems I faced. So there's this thing of rows of more than 5. As you can see, if black plays optimally and places a stone here, then he or she wins with a row of 6. In some versions of Gobing, this loses or it doesn't count as a win. You have to have exactly 5. But in this version of my Gobing, this counts as a win. Now, at first, when I ran my project, this came out to be 2 wins printed in a row in the console. And why was that? Because the game engine detected a win 2 times. However, this is not supposed to be the case, and it's tedious and annoying. So this corner case had to be fixed. So I ended up adding a variable to the game engine so it only counts the win once. Next, there was the extraneous pop-up window problem where here's a pop-up window, as you can see here. So at first, there were no special action buttons in my Gobing project. Instead, every time you placed a piece, this kind of pop-up window would show up to ask for a special action. And counterintuitively, it's actually really easy to do in comparison with the later the special action buttons. However, it was really, really annoying. So we removed it and added the special action buttons. It took some work, but we managed to get it. And finally, there's the most difficult problem, threading library and game timer. So the game timer is controlled by the threading library, which has independent threads. And even though usually the threads end with the project, because they're independent, sometimes they just don't like to listen to what I tell them to do, and they just keep on going. And so we had to fix that problem, and it took a lot of work. We ended up sidestepping that problem, so we fixed it. So thank you for your time listening to my project presentation. So any questions?
Very impressive, Richard. Very good presentation too. So how did you build this with just regular Python, or did you build this with a Python game 0?
Well, it was just regular Python, I think. I didn't use Pygame or anything, but there was the turtle library that was allowed in Replit.
I see. So what inspired you to build this game?
Well, let me say, me and my friend Michael, as well as like a lot of other people, we all were in this this class, a Zoom class on Python, and there was at the end there was this final project where we were asked to do this Gobing. Now, Gobing is a fun project, and I really liked it, and so we did it. So we needed to do this Gobing project. The requirements were that we just needed to make a Gobing, but since I really like this, me and my friend Michael, we decided to expand upon it, and we added things like the achievements and like the special actions, etc., like you saw, as well as the timer. The timer was sort of difficult, and we did it, and so now, yeah, so we have this Gobing project.
Thank you. I like the timer too.
Do you like playing GoBang and on the board, Richard?
Yeah.
Nice.
It has if you get into it, like there's a more official version called Renju, and there are a lot of rules in it, and some of the rules are weird. But I like the rules. Since otherwise Black has like a total win with optimal play. I didn't include those rules in my game though. It's quite kind of more a casual version.
Nice. Very well done.
Thanks.
Okay, are there any more questions from the judges? Okay, if not, we can give a second for the judges to give you scores, and then we can move on.
Richard, which school you go to, if you don't mind?
Oh, I go to, well, okay, this is a bit complicated. For the last few years, I always went to a private school called Challenger School. Near my neighborhood, but this year, originally we planned to go, but at the last second, the COVID pandemic decided to increase unexpectedly, unfortunately. So at the end, we decided to temporarily stay out of school since last year they offered online, but this year they didn't. So now, basically, I'm just gonna go to a different online school.
Thank you for sharing.
Okay, I think we can move on to our next project. So we have using HTML to make web page of history of computer by Liliana Chai, Ivan Lim, and Hugo Jin.
How Computer Work by Liliana Chai, Hugo Jin, and Ivan Lim. This project is an animation of the Turing machine made with Python Turtle with an HTML page as a side. This project was made by Liliana Chai, Ivan Lim, and Hugo Jin.
My name is Liliana, and I'm going to 7th grade, and my experience is Python, Java, and HTML basics.
My name is Hugo Jin. I'm going into 8th grade. My experience is Python, HTML, and JavaScript basics.
Hello, my name is Ivan Lim. I'm going to 7th grade. My experience with coding is only with Python Turtle.
How we got our idea. We chose this idea for a few reasons. The main reason we chose this idea was because it is a good balance between feasibility and difficulty. In other words, we wanted to do this project because it is not too hard, but it's also challenging enough. Originally, we brought up the idea of doing something about the history/origins of the modern-day computer after I watched a video about how math is incomplete, undecidable, and inconsistent, titled Math Have a Fatal Flaw by Veritasium. The history part was made into an HTML page, but it is not the main project. For the Python project, we decided to make an animation of a basic Turing machine with Python Turtle. The Turing machine functions by reading, rewriting, and moving along a strip of zeros and ones. Inside it contains the instructions on what to do and an end for an output. The machine's instructions can also be copied onto other Turing machines.
One struggle we faced was doing the HTML webpage on the history of computers and how computers work to comply with our animation. Since we only had the basics in HTML, it was kind of hard to continue on with the webpage. However, we took on a challenge by writing HTML, adding images, and organizing paragraphs. Overall, it was really interesting to try something new and learn about the different code in HTML. Another struggle we faced was in the Python animation, setting the position of things by using t.go2. We had to try many times before we got the position of the object correct on the screen.
What we did was we created a web page for the history of computers and an animation using Python Turtle. For the history of computers, we made it so that it showed the timeline of computers and pictures of important people responsible for the concept of the Turing machine. The animation shows how the Turing machine works by drawing a stick figure which presents an image of the Turing machine. We used zeros and ones as input, wrote text for instructions to show the computer processing, and an output. We had a lot of code including t.write for text, t.goto for the position. We also added colors and incorporated much of the knowledge we accumulated.
On the left is a screenshot of the HTML web page we started on, and on the right is the Python animation. This was a really good learning process. We expanded our knowledge on computer history, and we had to experiment with a lot of functions in Python since we only knew the basics. Thank you for listening.
Well done. You guys have a like a URL we can go visit by any chance? It doesn't have to. It's not required, but if you have it.
Yeah, just a second. I can also share the code page.
Yeah, just the link if you happen to have it, but it's not required. If you don't have it, it's fine. It's really cool. There we go. Oh, the animations. Okay. Oh, I see. And you post this animation in your website. Instruction loading. Okay. I have no other questions. It's just very well done project. Judge Luckman and other judges, feel free to comment.
Well done. How did you guys learn the HTML? What was that like?
Actually, like some months ago or like years ago, I did like a touch on HTML. I just like went online and found it interesting as one of the coding languages, and I just like kind of self-learned, and I thought it was interesting to incorporate it into our project.
Nice, very good job.
Okay, are there any more questions from the judges?
No more, thank you.
We're gonna give a minute for the judges to give scores, and then we can move on to the next one. Okay, so our next project is a text-based game for moving cursor by Alan Lynn Williamson.
Hi, my name is Alan Lynn, and I'm going to 7th grade. And also, my coding experience is in Scratch and Python.
Hi, my name is William. I'm 11 years old and I'm going to 6th grade. My coding experience is also Scratch and Python, but I've only learned Python for this summer. This is our project, Monster Fighting Simulator. It's a game that where you are a character and you try to fight off the monsters and the monsters try to fight you. If you fight off the monsters, you can clear levels, and if you clear enough levels, then you beat the game. We made this project using Python. It primarily uses text to display all the elements necessary to defeat monsters, gain items, and go through levels, although it also uses shapes. So as you can see, this is our code. It's actually pretty long for just text and shapes, but so every level there's a level item. For the first level, it's stone. For the second level, it's bread. So what you do with stone is you can make a stone sword, then fight off the monsters. And what you do with bread is you eat it and gain your HP back, or health points, or your health in the game. And as you can see when you run it, hold on, it's taking time. It's taking time to load. Okay, so when you run it, there are two options. You can start the game. As you can see, the square is your character. You can move backwards, you can move forwards, you can move right, and you can move left. As you can see, these arrows are the zombies. They are chasing you and minusing your HP or health points down over here. So you can pick up the level item, which is stone. You can switch to stone in your inventory, and you can use the stone to make a stone sword. Then you switch to the stone sword, and hold on. All right, okay, so then you switch to the stone sword, and you can fight off the monsters using the stone sword. So let me just get rid of all these monsters. You can see they're going away. So after you get rid of all the monsters, the second level starts. The second level item is bread. You can pick it up. You can switch to the bread. You can use it to gain your HP. And then you can switch back to the stone sword and defeat all the monsters. As you can see, these circles you can see are skeletons. They're different from zombies, but they're also a monster that tries to attack you. So let me just get rid of all these monsters. Yeah, okay, I'm getting rid of them. Hold on. Let me just explain some of the fourth level first. So when the fourth level starts, there are these triangles that are mummies, and since they're covered in paper, they turn around, and if they see you, they go towards you, but if they don't, they go in a random direction. Let me just wait until the fourth level can start. Okay, see, so it prints level cleared when you beat a level. So let me switch back to the stone sword, and let me use it to defeat the monsters. So the third level, since I already explained some of the fourth level, let me explain the third level now. These are the same monsters because every level, the monsters actually have higher levels, so they do more damage and are faster. So let me just get rid of all these. Wait, hold on. So let me just get rid of all these guys. What the? Okay. What was that noise? So as you can see, my HP is lowering. As you can see here, and I'm trying to fight off these guys. Okay, so now let me wait for the 4th level to start. There's mummies, as I explained before. So yeah, these triangles are mummies. Let me just try to get rid of them. As you can see, they're kind of moving in random directions because they can't see me because of their paper in front of their eyes. And actually, so unfortunately, I lost since my HP or health points reach less than 0, and it prints you lost and it ends the game. But if you were to beat level 4, then you would win. In conclusion, our project is mainly entertainment as it is a game, but it also shows that a game with only text can be very complicated and fun. And also, just for fun, the game kind of simulates the current situation because of the monsters can be viewed as viruses, and you're fighting off the viruses. And when there's different monsters, it can be viewed as the different variants of COVID. So thank you for listening.
Thank you, William. This is a real game. I really like it, and I think it only takes a little bit of cosmetic change. You replace the square with the icon. Replace the monster icon. It could be a very real game, but you don't have to do it. But I think it's a game that's working. It's really impressive. You and Alan, 6th grader and 7th grader, can do something like this. It's really advanced. Very impressed. I would say you generation like yours is very talented.
So we actually spent like a lot of time on this, but Alan has like more coding experience than me, so he did most of it while I helped him out on the code. And it didn't take that less time, but yeah.
Very well done. Thank you.
Great game, William.
Is there any more questions from the judges? As there is not, we can give a minute or so for judges to use scores.
If you're talking, you're muted, just so you know.
Yeah, we're just waiting for the judges to
Oh.
finish their grading. Okay, that was about a minute, and we can move on to our last group, which is the death of the splashing fire by Jibin Zhang, Yi Xinhu, Yi Tong Yang, and Zhi Qu.
If you don't speak, please mute.
Okay. There we start. Hello, everybody. In the next 5 minutes, I'm gonna talk about these seven following things: our members' background, UAV introduction, process, how we start, teachers, and our expectation. First of all, I'd like to introduce all our members to you. Our team is made up of 8 students and 2 teachers. Here are our photos, names, and our jobs. And I'm sure you'll see clearly. All our members are especially inactive. And then I'd like to explain the reason why we aspire to start this project. Forest fires, which take place in California, lead to an incredible amount of financial loss. And people can't get to know the warning of fires immediately. As a result, it is necessary for us to develop an AIR fireman to prevent the spread of the splashing fire from expanding into a big fire. But how can we solve the problems? Next, I'll show you our advanced equipment. Though the plane looks tiny and simple, it has many advantages for rescuing work. For instance, look at the red one. It can recognize different kinds of codes as well as colors and temperature. The board is the main unit of it, and this is able to finish difficult tasks like looking for a certain location accurately. And after get ready for all the preparation, let me tell you how actually our system was born and how it works in real life events. Next, turn to our plan. Here are 4 simple steps throughout the process. Draw up a protocol, program and draw, test the UAV, simulate the whole system. Looking at the picture, it is showing the screen of our program. Looking at the chart, we can discover that it is a map showing part of California. The cartoon will be shown as well. At the beginning, we'll plan the route, and then the plane starts cruising according to it. The UAVs are able to discover the butt of the forest fires automatically when they are overhauling California by their image recognition system. Next, they drop plenty of extinguishing bombs above the certain areas as soon as people promote them according to the instructions programmers have written before. What's more, sound and light will be released and planes will send reports to the fire station so that the firefighters can remind residents nearby or tourists traveling there about the danger they are in. Finally, all the related people are not unable to get prepared for escaping. All in all, the plan will surely be highly feasible. After that, please enjoy the video which records our daily activities. Well, in the middle is the whole process of our project. Firstly, we made a plan together. Secondly, we completed further discussion. After that, our leader handed out missions for us to finish our own part. At last, everyone worked together and made sure the project is correct. Last but not least, I'd like to introduce all our teachers to you. The two gentlemen are our tutors who has already achieved great success in their specific careers. Mr. Wang is responsible for organizing us and offering ideas. The other teacher is an intelligent teacher who is good at solving technological problems. To sum up, our project is still a simple scheme which aims to assist putting out forest fires all around the world. But during our experiments, we have found out that the battery couldn't last for a long time. However, I'm confident to say that our team has already made great progress during a short period of time, and hopefully we will collaborate to make it better. Thank you for watching. That is all for our whole project.
Keep the fire away, make the world better.
Thank you guys. This is a really cool design. I thought that this is a game because it said the death of fire. So I thought it was a game, but this is a real challenge contest that you guys want to use drone technology to solve the fire hazards we have here, especially in California. I really like it. And I see that you got to have a drone that can kind of, flew around by itself or without remote. That's kind of cool. So it's a really good idea. And I'm glad that you guys are looking into this challenge we face. So I have a question for you guys. So so you talk about battery life, you talk about fire bombs, extinguishers. So what do you think the likelihood that we can eventually deploy this? How can we bring this to life? Say we really have a fire and we have drones flying around, and if we see the fire just started, it will put it out right away before it gets too big. Do you get anything to share, how close this we eventually could have this in a meaningful, more realistic way? Any ideas?
Well, we haven't thought about it for further study, but I can show you our program. And it's an app that provides us with lots of types of instructions, and our programmers can change the parameter in the blanks. During the process, we are able to combine the distance, altitude, direction together in a certain period of time in a coordinate, and then just need to start the program, which was written before. And in the real life events, some extinguishing bombs will just be dropped down when it gets to the certain places, and our planes will weigh a lot, and it can surely carry the extinguishing bombs.
Thank you. Is this a Scratch? It's the program you're showing is very much like Scratch, and it's linked to the Jones, right? Programmed to the Jones. Is this Scratch, or what are you guys using there?
It is Scratch and Python.
Python, okay. Okay, thank you.
Okay, are there any more questions from the judges? If there is no question. Oh, yeah, by the way, this group is from China, and it was very impressive to do this presentation all in English, and yeah. Yeah, if there is no question, this is the end of our event, and the judges are gonna count up the scores, and then just make sure to attend the award session in about 20 minutes at 4:30. Yeah, at the main room. And I'm gonna send the Zoom link in the chat just to make sure you have access to that. Yeah, I believe that's the main room Zoom link. Just go there at 4:30 for award session. And now the judges are gonna count up the scores and determine who wins, and yeah.
Okay, guys, we'll see you later at the main lobby. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for the judges. Bye.
Bye. Great job, everyone.
Great job. Yeah. So judge,
Yeah.
please submit the floor. I will check. If we miss anything. Yeah. No. Yeah. We have a.
Yeah, Hanghua, did you receive all the rating from judges?
No, we need to wait a bit. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello。对，不，你可以在网上看啊。对你这样子，你首先你要 announce 几个东西，就是说，第一个呢，我们注册一个那个 channel， 我一直在发呢，你就把那个大家。你要讲 对，我要弄我的分数了，没空管了。对，嗯。